And hello and welcome. I'm George Kilpatrick, host of Inspiration for the Nation. The Pew Research Center findings suggest that fatherhood in America is changing. Today, fathers who live with their children are taking a more active role in caring for them and helping out around the house. And the ranks of single fathers have grown significantly in recent decades. At the same time, more and more children are growing up without a father in the home. Fathers play an important role in the social and emotional development of our children. So, how are we doing as dads, and how are we showing up? Are we letting our sons know that it's okay to be gentle and caring, and letting our daughters know that they can be assertive and play rough if they feel like it? Welcome to our conversation tonight, Fatherhood, the Real Manhood. We'll explore the possibilities of what it means to be a good father while offering to support to those who may be in single parent households, especially because Father's Day is coming up. Syracuse native Darrell Andrews will give a keynote address, and we'll hear how our My Brother's Keepers, Todrick and Janoy, feel about their fathers and fatherhood. Then we'll meet a panel of fathers, Kevin Robinson, Benjamin Lundquist, Seneca Wilson, and Dr. Phil Wesley II. Tonight's program was developed by the My Brother's Keepers Fellows. But let's learn a little bit more about the My Brother's Keepers program in Syracuse with Building Men Program Executive Director, Joe Horan.
Thank you, George. I'm so excited about this program. Our fellows did great amount of work in talking and sharing about their experiences in fatherhood. And for those that don't know, the New York State My Brother's Keeper Initiative seeks to change the narrative of boys and young men of color and all students by closing the elimination gap, giving them the opportunities to help them reach their full potential. My Brother's Keeper Fellows program, they're young men who have leadership ability and who would benefit from an enhanced and rich, ambitious fellows program. Additionally, these My Brother's Keeper Fellows must be willing to commit to a year of fellows programs. They are committed to faithful participation in programs that maximize positive impact in their school community. Programs for these My Brother's Keeper Fellows include mentoring. They had mastermind book clubs. They had presentations. They had college visits. They did speaker training, wrote college essays, and leadership training. And this is the culminating experience. This is their community service project to benefit the schools and their community by bringing a presentation of fatherhood to our communities. Thank you very much. And I am looking so forward to our discussion today. Thank you, George.
Great. Thank you, Joe. And if you are watching this program tonight on June the 8th, you can also participate in the chat in YouTube. Joe's going to go over there and watch what's going on over there. And if you have any questions that we can get to our panelists, we'd be happy to do that. And if you're on Facebook, go over to YouTube too. No, if you're on Facebook, we'll get to your questions perhaps as well. But our goal is to engage you in this conversation. And this is how we're going to do it. Let's meet our keynote speaker. A Syracuse native, Darrell Coach D. Andrews is an internationally recognized workforce development consultant, strategist, and motivator. He's the president and CEO of Darrell Andrews LLC and Associates. For the past 2 decades, he and his team at Darrell Andrews Enterprises have provided consulting, motivational training, and speeches that enhance corporations, workforce development agencies, and education organizations. His company's innovative system of equity in the Equity 3M framework is the fastest growing segment of his business. Coach D is regularly invited to speak at workforce development and education conferences throughout the United States, Canada, and the Caribbean. He's the author of several books, including How to Find Your Passion and Make a Living at It, The Purpose Living Teen, A Teen's Guide to Living Your Dreams, and Reinvention, The Pathway to Job Success, and his story of college success, 5 Garbage Bags and a Dream, was one of the top stories in the New York Times best-selling Chicken Soup for the African-American Soul. His latest book, Equity is Not a Head Issue, It is a Heart Issue, will be released in July 2021, so that's next month. Darrell Andrews Enterprises is a former WIA youth and adult provider. His HYPE program, helping youth pursue excellence, had one of the highest dropout prevention and graduation rates of all WIA providers in the United States. But most importantly, he's been happily, and I repeat, happily married for 27 years and the proud father of 4 amazing children, Darrell Jr., Sophia, Alexander, and Abigail. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach D, Darrell Andrews.
George, thank you so much, man. And I couldn't ask for a better man to introduce me. And we go way back, man. We both love the Q's. And I'm just so honored. Even on way down here in Delaware, Syracuse runs through my veins, man. I'm Syracuse born and bred. You know, after birth, my mom took me right on back over to the Pioneer Homes, where we started our journey. And I lived in just so many areas throughout Syracuse. I'm a graduate of Fowler High School many, many years ago. And I'm just honored to be selected to be your speaker for tonight. Just want to give again a kudos to Joe Horan, who is one of my high school teammates and friends, who stuck with his vision from many years ago to create this type of initiative to help the young men in our hometown. And I can say I was one of the people that was there with him when he first got started. And a lot of what we're seeing today is really a byproduct of the vision he had many, many years ago. And that's a starting point for my presentation. And I'm going to encourage everyone, young men and adults, have a pen and a pad, because I'm not just here today as a motivational speaker. I'm here to talk as a father and as a man who cares about manhood and the responsibility and role that we play in impacting our society in a positive way. So this is not just a quote unquote motivational speech. There's going to be some things I'm going to share that can be transformative as far as our families, as far as our communities, as far as our cities, our schools, across the board, because manhood, when done the right way, can enhance and strengthen a city, can enhance and strengthen a community. And I would dare say we need to understand more than ever that manhood is a powerful tool for change and transformation. And so I mentioned vision. And as mentioned, I was born in the city of Syracuse, New York, many, many years ago. Unfortunately, my mom and dad didn't stay together. They separated when I was really young. And so my mom had a tremendous amount of responsibility on her. She only had an 8th grade education. But one thing I will say positively, she went back to school and got her high school diploma, and that changed everything. But growing up as a young boy in the Syracuse area, man, there's a lot of things I had to learn. I probably experienced a lot of the same things you experience, as young men in the city. So I had a chance to see a lot of the same things you probably see there as well. But something happened when I was around 13 or 14 years old. I had a conversation with my cousin, and I said to him, man, let me say this, man, let's have a talk about our future, because he and I were just like this. There's not much we didn't do, independent of each other. And I said, man, let's talk about our future. What kind of fathers are we going to be? What kind of men are we going to be when we have kids? And that seems interesting to be having a conversation like that when you're 14, but we had it. Because what I shared with my cousin was, man, I want to be the kind of father that my kids will be proud of. And I don't know how I got that revelation at 14, with so much going on around me and the struggles of, growing up in the way we grew up and all, and there was stuff happening all around me in the cuse, and a pull here and a pull here and to do this and to do that and get involved with this and get involved. Come on, man, I was raised there, so I know the challenges. But something kicked inside of me, man. What will my children say about me? Am I going to, like in our town, there were so many kids who, their dads unfortunately weren't in their lives. And that caused a myriad of things to happen, a lot of pain and struggle. And what do I do in this situation? Who do I go to? So there's a lot of young folks trying to figure it all out. But in the midst of all of that, I got a revelation of what kind of father do I want to be? And I want you young fellas right now to ask that question, write it down, put it on a piece of paper. What do I want my future kids to say about me? What will my community say about me? What will my family say about me? And you write down what you want that to be. For me, it was important. I had no kids, obviously, at 14. What do I want my future kids to think about me? And then, young men, I want you to understand something. That means that I, at that time, had to start making choices that was going to lead me to that ultimate goal that I had. Now, one of my mentors, his name is Dr. Miles Monroe. And he has a powerful quote. Write this quote down. All right. Vision, I'm telling you, don't miss this one. Vision is going into the future, grabbing your dream, pulling it into the present, and beginning to work on it. Man, make sure you write that one down. Vision is going into the future, grabbing your dream, pulling it into the present, and beginning to work on it. So that's what I did. I went into the future, grabbed my children, pulled them into the present and said, what kind of dad am I going to be for these guys? Didn't even know them, didn't know names, didn't know anything. And I said, I better start making choices. So I decided to start making good choices. I wasn't always making good choices. I made some bad choices because I said, what am I going to say about them? So vision is one of the first things I want. What's the vision you have for the future? I'm not talking about what's happening now because I know it can be challenging. I'm not talking about what has happened to you. I'm talking about what do you want? What do you want for your future in the midst of challenges? Because I had them around me too. What do you want? Go into that future, young man. Grab that future and say, you know what? This is the future I'm going to shape for me and my family. And I'm starting right now in school with my education, the people I hang around. You know, all of that stuff plays a role. You see, my mentor also says this. He said, it's a tragedy to be preoccupied with the past at the expense of the future. Write that one down, young man. It's a tragedy to be preoccupied with the past at the expense of the future. So those things that happen us to the past, we don't want to carry that into our future. I didn't want to do to my children, which was done to many of the kids in our hometown growing up. I didn't want that. Because now what would happen is I'm taking my past and marrying it with my future. And what I'll ultimately end up doing is producing the same results. And you don't want to do that. You want to say, this is the future I want. And I'm going for it. You see, because men do three things. Let me tell you about three things men do. Write these down. I told you it's not a motivational speak. This is information here about fatherhood. The real manhood, okay? And trust me, as a father with 4 beautiful children, this is real manhood. It's manhood when you can do what you need to do to take care of this family when sometimes you may feel like you want to run off, but you don't. You stay the course because that's manhood. You do what you got to do to take care of that household, that family. It's manhood, you see? But here's the three things. The first thing is called, for men, you got to provide. You want to provide for your family, which means you need to get a good education so that when the time comes, you can get a good job and be able to provide for your household, take care of them, make sure that the needs are met. This is real manhood. You see, I got 6 miles to take care of, and I don't even put any emphasis to my wife. I said, I got this. That's real manhood. You know what I mean? What you do is fine. You know, money you make, that's cool. I got this. Now, do we work together as a couple? Yes, but I got this. Manhood. So you want to provide, then you want to protect. Which means a real man is able to share with his children things that sometimes they don't even want to hear because you're going to protect their future. You're going to protect them from making bad choices. You're going to protect them from the things in society that can deter them. Even though they're human like anybody else, we all can make a mistake, but a real man is going to position so that he can protect. And then the last one, George was talking about, to nurture. It's nothing wrong with a man to hug his children and tell them he loves them. I got 4 kids ages 10 to 24, almost 23, and I hug them all every time I see them. You know, my son just graduated from high school. He's going to Virginia Military Institute on a full scholarship. And when we walked up for me to turn that tassel, I hugged him and gave him a kiss right on his forehead in front of all those people. Why? It's my son. Love that dude. When his brother graduated from high school, went to college, same thing. Real men nurture, man. You can tell somebody you love them. See, we grew up a lot around folks who said you got to be this certain kind of man in order to be a man. No, man, men know how to love their families, man. Show them that you care. Because you know what that does? It gives strength to your daughters. It gives strength to your sons. When they know dad loves me, man, dad cares about me. And you know it to be true because a lot of us grew up and we didn't have all of that. And it had such an adverse effect on us. You know, so, you know, real men know how to nurture. So just remember, real men know how to provide. Real men know how to protect. And real men know how to nurture. But there's another thing real men understand too, is how to be mentored. One thing we need, we always talk about mentorship, and our young men need mentorship for a variety of different things. I'm going to tell you something. Young men need mentorship for fatherhood. That's why I'm proud of this initiative, because that's what it's all about. It's mentorship for fatherhood. This is the kind of man you need to be. This is how you interact with your family. This is how you interact with your spouse, you see? And here's the thing, young men, don't forget this. There's a lot of voices out here trying to tell you what's right and tell you what's wrong. But when you have a voice that has proven themselves, a man that has made the choice of fatherhood, that has made the choice of serving their community, has made the choice of the betterment of our people, respect that man. Listen to that man. Don't let our boys tell us about manhood when they ain't there yet. They've not taken on any responsibility. They're not paying for their kids' future or food on the table, but they're telling us about manhood. How do they know what manhood is? They don't. These men who have been through the trenches, many of these men who you're going to hear from later today, listen to these guys. Hear what they have to say. And when they give you that advice, say, you know what, I'm going to take a slice of what they say and I'm going to do something with it. And I'm saying that to you because I know as a young man, sometimes we want to listen to our boys and think that our boys have the answer, but they don't. Not to say that we don't learn from our friends or grow from our boys, because some of our boys have our best interest at heart. But when I'm talking about manhood and I'm talking about fatherhood, the best place to learn is from men who've been there, men who are in the trenches. So another thing I want you to talk about is embrace fatherhood, but learn from people who have been there. Have a mentor. Let me tell you who my mentor was. One of my primary mentor for fatherhood was a man by the name of Harry Jones. And Harry's a pastor. But he was different. He was a unique kind of pastor because I attended his church, and to be honest with you, I wasn't trying to go to church. But I somehow found my way to his church, and I said, man, this is a different kind of a pastor. Man, he talking sports with me, man. We talking about, I'm a big Philadelphia Eagles fan, you know, the only team that really counts in football, but we'll talk about that later during the question time. But anyway, we talking sports, and he's an Eagles fan. I'm an Eagles fan. We live near Philadelphia, you know, and we're talking this, man. He ain't even talking gospel to me, man. He talking sports and this and that. Then he starts talking manhood. But guess what? I listened. Because why? Here's a man that had 4 kids. They were very athletic. His son played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Another son played for the Eagles. His 2 daughters received full scholarships for basketball to go to college. None of his kids paid for college. None of my kids did either. But his example and what he taught me shaped the type of father I wanted to be. He was my role model. Write this down, young man. I need a fatherhood role model. Somebody that I can look to and say, you know, teach me how to do this. I don't have many people around me. So watching his pattern, I said, oh, that's what he's doing with his sons. That's what he's doing with his daughters. I would always see him hug his children, tell him that he loved them. But then sometimes he was tough. He had to nurture and he had to say, okay, this is not going right. I saw how he handled that. Saw how he interacted with his wife. I was watching him. You know what I mean? I saw that his kids didn't go to school. His kids went to school on full scholarships. So how did he do that? And then I learned from watching them, and he was actively involved with his kids, and he would go and participate, and he would connect them to this and that. I said, we're going to do the same thing. Why? He became my example of fatherhood. And see, let me tell you something, young men. So many of us we didn't come from, that type of scenario. So you need to find somebody. And then I'm gonna tell you, looking at what I see right now, they're around. I know what Joe is doing with the Building Men program. I've been there many times interacting with many of the young men. And there's men around. But if you don't value these men and value their input, they can't help you. They can't help you, fellas. You gotta say, you know what, I'm willing to, despite what other people think, I'm willing to listen to this person so that I can grow and stretch myself. When I went to work in corporate America, there was a guy named Eugene Lewis who coached me and mentored me in corporate. I was willing to listen. Fellas, sometimes you got to stretch yourself and come out of your comfort zones. It may seem like, man, I don't know if I want to hear what this guy has to say. But take a look at this guy's life. If he's saying he wants to help and this guy is living the life you want to live, listen to him. Because the reality is, we need to embrace fatherhood. And the best way to embrace fatherhood is by seeing those examples of fatherhood that are out there. You see, I mentioned Harry Jones and what he brought to my attention as far as fatherhood. But one thing I noticed about him, fellas, now I'm just going to be a little bit on the arrogant side of fatherhood. He said he was building a dream team. All of his kids did well. They went out and maximized their potential. He was empowering his kids with the wisdom and skill to maximize their potential. As a man growing up to be a father, had that vision for your family, what you can pour into your children to cause them to maximize their potential. I listened to this man. I watched his model. And guess what? I'm building me, write this down. I'm building me a family dream team. Because as a man, just like when we played ball, I played football at Fowler. Then I went to college at Cheney, and I was a linebacker. And I always jokingly tell people I used to hit folks so hard, I would knock them into next week's game, man. I wasn't playing. I love me some football, but the reality, is as a man in a team, understanding team sport, I understand, man, building that dream team, a team. You know what I mean? And so my wife and I met 30 years ago. We've been married for 27 years. Y'all should give me some high fives for that. That's not normal in my world, but I committed to this. We'll be 28 years in August. We have 4 beautiful children. My wife and I were told it was medically impossible to have kids. We prayed for these kids, and now we have 4. Don't tell me I'm praying, prayer don't work. It works. We have 4 kids. I have my oldest son, Daryl Jr., who is a recent graduate of Ringling College of Art and Design in Sarasota, Florida. His school cost $264,000. He paid $0. One of the only illustrators of color to graduate from one of the top art schools in the United States of America. That's my son, Daryl. My daughter, Sophia, is a global scholar, one of 25 kids selected at American University. All right. At the age of 14, she started a nonprofit to help orphans in Nairobi, Kenya. She's been back and forth to Kenya 10 times, and we as a family have been back and forth 5. And now her nonprofit she started at 14 is an international nonprofit with a board. She was just recently interviewed on the Kelly Clarkson show. And this girl at the age of 19 took enough credits from high school into college that her freshman year, she's a junior and she graduates next year, but she's going for a PhD. Dream team. My youngest son, Alexander, just graduated a few days ago. I call him my twin because he looks just like me. He's like his daddy, good looking dude too. And here's the thing. Alex wanted full scholarship to Virginia Military Institute. 4 years. He wants to go into the military. He's going to be a lieutenant, but then he wants to do that for several years. Then he wants to go into politics and all that. But he has a plan. His school costs $68,000 a year, zero. My daughter's school costs $67,000 a year, zero. Then I have my 10-year-old daughter, and her name is Abigail, beautiful little girl, and I just enjoy her being little and beautiful. So we're not talking career in college with her yet. The point I'm making is, why am I saying this? I just told you a few moments ago, we went from Memorial Hospital to the PH with my mom, single mom, in a town where a lot of young men didn't have their dads and all that in their lives. And I went from that situation to stuff around us in the Q's. You know how it is, this around and that around and drugs around and this around, was able at 14 to say, what will my children think about me? And here we are all these years later. Look what the outcome is. Young men, let me tell you something. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. What is going to be your narrative? Now, mine is unique. I'm telling you, I'm a little bit on the arrogant side when it comes to family. I want me a dream team. And as a father, I'm going to sow that seed in there because they are my legacy. What's going to be your legacy? What is it that you want to do with your household? I'm not saying everybody has to be like me. I'm talking about this dream team. That's just what I do. Matter of fact, one of my books is entitled The Parent is Coach, Developing a Family Dream Team. Because I believe when a father, a real man, decides that he wants to accomplish something in his household and he does what's necessary, willing to make the sacrifices, willing to put the time in, I'm telling you, fellas, you can create a future that will be impactful for your family for generations to come. I know it can be hard for us out here. I know we can have challenges. I know being a man of color, we have obstacles, but I'm not going to allow that to stop me as a man. I'm going to find a way to make it happen. I own a consulting firm now that's global. I've authored a bunch of books. I travel all over the world. I speak. This is speaking program number 6 for me today. I'm always speaking and training virtually and live. But that all started with a dream, fellas, from the Q's. I jokingly tell people I went to every school in Syracuse. Started off at Merritt, went to Danford, went to Seymour. My mom always moving. Went to Charles Andrews, went to Levy, went to Roosevelt, went to Fowler. I probably missed a few in there. I was in every school in Syracuse. Some of these schools don't even exist. Then they bust me to a school called Nichols Elementary. But guess what? Through the midst of all of that, here we are today. Here we are today. So I'm gonna get ready to conclude my presentation by saying to you, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. Surround yourself with some good men that's gonna care about your future. You listen to those men, even if it's uncomfortable. You listen to them, all right? Paint a picture, get a vision for what you want. This is what me and my family gonna look like. And start surrounding yourself with friends who support that. And guess what? In doing so, that's real manhood, man. That's the kind of man that can make a mark on their family and their community. And that's the kind of man that one day, as you grow up, will be the kind of man another young boy will want to come to and learn from. George, thank you so much. Joe, thank you so much. I love the Q's, man. And I want to see as many of you young brothers out there as possible maximize your potential. Your boys here, you want to email me, George, and I'm going to be giving all information out. I'm available, Doc. I'm here because, listen, I know those streets. I can walk that city blindfold. I've been all over that place. I love that city, love you, and thank you so much for the opportunity to present. Thank you.
That's Coach D, Darrell Andrews. And Darrell Andrews, there's 2 things I want to say to you. Number 1, we love you back. And 2, go Giants. But once again, thank you, Coach D, for a very, very powerful presentation. And Coach D will stick around for our panel coming up, where you get the opportunity to ask questions. We're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And more importantly, our fellows have prepared questions for our panelists. But before we meet our panelists, let's meet our My Brother's Keepers Fellows, Janoy Powers and Todrick Wilson. These young fellows, pun intended, shared their perspectives on fatherhood.
Hello, my name is Janoy Powers.
And I'm Todrick Wilson.
This is our My Brother's Keepers project. It is about fatherhood, the real manhood.
And we're doing this project to influence young men to be in their children's lives in the future. Janoy is going to talk about his experience without having a father in the house.
Thank you, Todrick. Well, for me, growing up without a father, it didn't really affect me as it might affect others, as I kind of shied away from doing drugs and being involved in the streets. I kind of just stayed home, played sports, went to school, did stuff like that. So I never really got involved with that type of stuff. And plus, I always knew that I could call my father. I could always go visit him anytime I wanted. So I felt like that was enough for me. And him not being home kind of made up for that. And plus, I always had my mother here. So I never felt like I didn't have anybody to talk to, because, you know, I have a very strong relationship with my mother. I could talk to her about anything and would have those type of talks. But I feel like if I had a father around, it probably would make some things easier. You know, having a role model on how to be a man in the world would have been nice to have around instead of having my mother, you know, and seeing it from a woman's perspective. I could have saw it from a man's perspective. But either way, I feel like having her around definitely helped make the man I am today. And I thank her for that. And I will be passing it on to Todrick, as he will be talking about his perspective, not having a father around.
My childhood is very similar to Janoy's in the sense that I really didn't go out and get involved with things I wasn't supposed to. I stayed at home for the most part, went to school, and played sports as well. And the sense that not having a father around, I was never in contact with my father. I never really texted him or called him, never stayed with him. But I did have other male figures in my life, not all positive. Each one of them have their own problems and issues. I have 3 uncles. 2 of those uncles have a cheating problem and a loyalty problem, and one of my uncles have a drug problem, and he goes in and out of jail. I have a grandfather, but he has an alcohol problem, and that affects his relationship with my grandmother. Now, even though they all have attributes and issues about themselves, they all have redeeming qualities that a man should have that I can take and try to implement into my own life. For example, my 2 uncles that have the loyalty issues, they're really hard workers and they're really dedicated. And if there's any situation where they can help their family out and help them be in a better position, they'll do that in an instant. My one uncle that has the drug issues, he's probably the most loyal person I know. And my grandfather, he's probably one of the most reliable people I know. I can call him at 1 o'clock in the morning to give me a ride home, and he'll be on the way without complaining. And that's good, but I have to get each one of those attributes out of them from different sources. I can't go to one person and look to them for advice. I have to try to weed out the bad things and implement the good things. And I feel like having a positive role model in my life, a positive father figure in my life, would help me not have to go through the loopholes or put pressure on my mother to try to teach me how to be a man when she isn't one. And I also don't know how a healthy relationship would be between a man and a woman because I don't have a father in my life. My mom has been with women ever since my sister was born. She's just been with women, so I never seen that healthy relationship between, you know, a father and a mother to take care of a child. But the issue is, being that I don't have a positive father figure inside the house with me or in my life, I have to look for help from other men and my family, and I have to try to weave out what's bad and take what's good. And that can be a dangerous game because you really don't know what's good and what's bad if you don't have the positivity around you all the time. With that being said, we're going to go back to Janoy. He's going to talk about the advantages of having a father in the house.
Thank you, Todrick, for sharing that. Father figures can promote inner growth and strength. Studies have also shown that when fathers are around, it greatly affects a child's social development skills, and also that boys are more likely to not get in trouble with the law and are more likely to hold a job. With saying that, I will pass it back to Todrick as he will talk about the advantages of having a father around for a daughter.
So girls more than boys develop their sense of worth and their self-esteem from their relationship with their fathers. So if they have a caring father and a trustworthy father that keeps his promises, they'll be better off in the future when it comes to their self-esteem and their self-confidence. Also, daughters have frequently picked their mates later in life based off their relationship with their father. So anything that they've seen their dad do with their mother, or seeing how their father treated them, they'll pick someone similar and someone that resembles that in the future. So the better a father treats their daughter, the better their partner will be able to treat them, and the more worth they'll have for themselves. But that's it for our presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed. My name's Todrick.
My name is Janoy.
And back to you, Mr. Kilpatrick.
All right. Thank you, fellows. We really appreciate you sharing so openly your experience in setting the stage for our conversation. So let's meet our dads. Kevin Robinson is a special education and English teacher, as well as an administrative intern in the Syracuse City School District. Prior to that, he spent several years as a philosophy professor at 3 different colleges and universities, and he's been married for the past 19 years to his beautiful wife, Franche, and together they have 4 children, Malik, Phoebe, Gabrielle, and Chloe. Malik, Phoebe, Gabrielle, and Chloe. Benjamin Lundquist is one of the leading voices for motivation and leadership. He's passionate about inspiring and equipping people to reach their fullest potential in life and leadership. He frequently speaks at high schools, universities, corporate and faith-based events. He's an author and hosts the Rise and Lead podcast, which is currently reaching over 90 countries around the world. Next up is Seneca Wilson, an author, speaker, poet, and college educator. He's on a mission to empower young artists to overcome barriers in their life by using sports, hip hop, inspiration, and poetry to ensure college and career readiness and success. As one of the most entertaining and speaker performers, Seneca wants to help turn on your light. He currently lives in Birmingham with his wife, Megan, and 3 children, Tylen, Declan, and Sloan. And Seneca has released his new book, Turn On Your Light, Finding the Light Within, in November 2020. And in 2007, Wilson published his first book of poetry, Kind of a One. And in 2016, he published his second book of poetry, Stairs to the Top. Seneca holds bachelor's and master's degrees and is a Toastmaster and dynamic presenter committed to helping others be great. Dr. Philip Wesley II, or Dr. Phil II, is a leader with over 20 years of experience working with youth nationally and internationally. As an organizer and activist, his passion for youth led to his role as a youth leader for over 20,000 youth from Western New York to New England, to training and empowering them in service to their community. Dr. Wesley graduated from Atlantic Union College with degrees in communication and religion, and continued his education at the Theological Seminary at Andrews University, where he obtained his Master of Divinity degree. Dr. Wesley has received a doctorate in business administration from the University of Montemorelos. Dr. Wesley has a podcast, The Anchored Voice, helping men to be anchored in life. And he also co-authored a book called Lessons for the Journey. He and his wife, Lynette Wesley, are parents of 4 children. 4 seems to be the magic number. I got 4. Kevin got 4. Our producers have 4. We all up in here. And of course, and Coach D has 4. And you've already met Coach D, Daryl Andrews. So thank you all for being on the program. Let me start by asking all of you to react to what you just saw from our young people. What's your reaction? Let me begin with you, Kevin.
Powerful. I mean, powerful, good information. I mean, the initiative to even do this, I could definitely commend those 2 young men. But one thing that stuck out to me is oftentimes we hear, mama knows, mama knows, daddy knows a little something too. Something that jumped at me. I looked in the background of Todrick. I saw Sasuke up there. Sasuke was speaking to me. He's screaming at me his reality. He's screaming at me what he's going through. Sasuke bloodied, bruised, but yet still standing. Those of us who know Naruto know Sasuke's character. So Todrick is telling me his reality, telling me what he's feeling through that poster behind him, and I see it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people might not catch that, but Daddy can catch that. And so that's the importance of having different perspectives, different visions. That's the importance of having, a man around, or a dad around, or a man in your life, or someone that you can communicate with and connect with. Being able to pick up those little things that you don't want to say, but you're definitely saying.
Any other reactions to what you just heard from the young people?
I was really intrigued by the young man who found good in the midst of bad.
Yes,
how he
right?
pulled some things from it. And I can relate to that because that was some situation with me as well. You could find, we all had people in our family that was into stuff, but then you would find little things, that you can say, wow, that's pretty special. So that was real mature of him to be able to, because most of the time you just hear the negative, but he was actually able to see the strengths in the midst of those men's weakness. So that was something special.
Yeah, I think it's the reality of relationships, right? That relationships are complicated. Ben, you were going to say something, or was it?
Yeah, just going to say, it was really first off, thank you, gentlemen, for having the courage to step up and share, because I think that's part of that journey of manhood, is willing to say, I'm going to step up when I have an opportunity. And it was really inspiring to me that when the young man said he looked around his own family and didn't have those role models, and he had to go get what he knew he didn't have. And so I think that idea of taking full ownership of your life and your journey of manhood, and if you have a void, being able to say, I'm not just going to accept the void, but I'm going to go looking for the mentors and the influencers that I need in my life. And I just commend those young men for taking that ownership of their journey.
Amen. Seneca, who wants this? Oh, well, Dr. Phil too.
I want to jump in there real quick.
Okay.
First of all, thank you for having me. But, I can definitely relate to these young men, especially Todrick, trying to find that father figure, that person in his life, because I didn't grow up with a father in my life. And, I could echo everyone's remarks about being comfortable to share that, because at that age, I don't know, I bottled up a lot of my feelings inside. And so I wanted to search for that father figure, a person, those mentors that I can just attach myself to. And, those are the things that you got to do to have, like Coach D said, find those mentors, find those father figure like mentors that are going to help you get to that next level.
Dr. Phil, you might as well jump in here.
Yeah, no, I love the honesty that they came with, and it just added value to our discussion. It added value to what we've been saying about the need of fathers in the home. And as much as he overcame some obstacles and some adversity, it still goes to that point. We need fathers to be fathers. And, he said, hey, listen, my father, I can still go to his house. I can still be present. And that's great. But, having fathers around is just so valuable. So thank you, gentlemen, for your honesty. Thank you for clarity. I know it took a lot to even discuss, especially in certain cultures, you just don't talk about your family business. So for you to do that added much value to what we're saying today. Thank you.
So we're going to ask some questions. So the My Brothers Keepers Fellows have prepared some questions for you all. And so we're going to ask those questions. But for the audience who's watching us live on Tuesday, June the 8th, we invite you to check in on Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're getting this. I think we've got something going on YouTube, right, on Facebook and YouTube right now, and LinkedIn. So if you're on one of those platforms and we can get your question in, what's your question about fatherhood? What's the burning thing that's going on for you? And what would you like these fathers to address? Okay, so here's the first question for you all. What is the greatest thing about being a father? What is the greatest thing about being a father? Let's start with you, Seneca, this time.
Well, thank you. Great question. Man, I'm a big family man. Again, I didn't have my father in my life to teach me how to be a father. I didn't even have, because I lived in the projects, and men are not, you don't supposed to be in the household as a father. So I enjoy waking up and be able to see my kid's face. A quick story really quickly. I just bought a house, and living in the projects, right? You don't see that vision of like buying a house. And to see my son, my daughter, my oldest son, to see their expression, to be in that house, to have that joy, that joy of just having their own room, it is a beautiful thing. And Coach D said it best, being able to provide. And I feel that is one of the greatest things that you can do, is that give your family what they deserve. So.
How about you? Go ahead, Coach D.
Yeah, I was just going to say, man, I mean, this could be an hour for each of us, I'm sure, because there's so many things, you know what I mean, Seneca, that we love about fatherhood. But I like all the little experiences, man. I just like, there's so many things we do as a family, like we started going camping some years ago, and we out there getting bit by bugs and, wondering what that loud noise is in the woods and all that. But we would be under the camp, we had a tent. And we would be in there, man, and going out doing s'mores and laying up at night and looking at the lights in the back. And, that's just one experience. We do things together. I enjoyed going to the kids' events and activities and seeing them maximize their potential and whatever they're all gifted in different areas. And being my daughter doing a dance recital, my son doing something. And so it's so many aspects of it. But I'm going to tell you, George, I'll say this and I'll turn it over to the brothers, but I'm honored that I get to see this and enjoy it. And sometimes I just say, man, it's sad some men don't realize what they're missing. Like, you think that, whatever the situation is, I'm not judging anybody, but man, this is such a joy to be able to have all these individual experiences with your children that accumulate into a lifetime. And then they get older and then they start talking to you about the experiences and thanking you. So to me, it's just all the little things we do as a family that is so enjoyable, man, to see and be a part of. Yeah.
So how do you be, if anyone else wanted to get in on that, you can, but you can combine that, your answer, with this. So how do you become a good father? What is the true meaning of being a good father? Dr. Phil, take it.
So first thing, one of the things I enjoy about being a father, this little thing, is I just like to watch them eat. Like when I don't know, it's just crazy, I just had to pause and just look at them eat. They're content, they're happy, they're eating. And it's just one of the things, okay, I can provide, make sure they got food on the table, but sometimes just sit back and just look at them eat. Phenomenal just to look at them grow, like, wow, wait a minute, now you're a teenager now you're preteens now, like crazy. And then I got a 1-year-old now. So it's like, see them in different stages. So it's awesome. What makes a good father? It's just being consistent. And what I hear from Coach, he's just very consistent in the outings and taking the kids out. And that's what I love to do. Would love to just be consistent. We look for just different ways we can teach them, educate them, because every opportunity is education. Right? Every opportunity, but we, whether we go to a hotel just to swim, whether we are just going on an RV trip, whatever it is, we just remain consistent. So consistent, and also what's called the ministry of presence, just being present in our kids' life is very important.
Kevin, I should say that Dr. Kevin Robinson, although he didn't want to have all of those honorifics, just so y'all know, this is Dr. Kevin Robinson. Okay, Kev, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll jump in on both. Just the things that jump out to me are just the real little things, the real tiny things. Like my youngest, she cracks up in her sleep. I mean, like we're talking just full on belly laughing. She's completely asleep, but this belly laughing, it just kills me. It kills me. I mean, that is just like a secret elixir to life. As much as I provide, as much as I give, they give me so much more. We just recently took a trip to Pittsburgh, and they wanted to listen to this song about Pluto, and that song has been in my head for like 2 or 3 days now. Like I got this matter of fact, it's banging in my head right now, and it just they give you so much life, so much joy, so many smiles, and like was just said, like I almost feel sorry for people who miss it. People who have the opportunity to have had those little experiences, and you're missing out. In terms of what makes a good father, at least from my perspective, a large part of what makes a good father is just not only being present. I mean, that's the first thing, but beyond that, it's being human, being fallible, being forgiven, and showing that, right? Showing that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be fallible. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to fall on your face. But after that, pick yourself back up. Pick yourself back up, dust yourself off, give you a kiss on the forehead, slap on the butt, go ahead, back out there, get back out there. The world's still out there. You got to get out there. When we fall again, guess who's going to be there? I'm going to be there. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, get yourself back out there, and being that person, for my children, that no matter what they go through, no matter what they do, no matter how bad they mess up, I'm going to say, are you crazy? Like, did you really do that? But then after that, dust yourself off, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, get back out there. And that's really my role. And I think that playing that role and being that space, that place, makes you a filter, against them in the world, makes you a filter that it's going to be okay. You know why? Because there's always going to be someone there to dust it off and push me back out there. And that builds confidence, which builds commitment, which builds dedication, which forges a life. That's important.
And very important. Benjamin?
Yeah, that's a big question. I do want to just say, Dr. Phil, we also love swimming in hotel pools. So maybe I'm not the only one that's just got a night at a hotel just so we can use the pool, with the kids.
That's right.
It was just this Saturday.
Right.
Just this Saturday.
Yeah, I think a couple of things. Some of the greatest joys for me, if I'm not traveling, I do about 30 minutes of wrestling with my son and my daughter on our trampoline every single night. And so their greatest, I think, life dream is to take dad down. That's their greatest dream. If they can get me to get on my knees and fall, they have come out victorious. So I think, just the joys of being on the trampoline. And then one of my greatest gifts every day is I have worships with my kids almost every night, and I lay on their bed and we talk about life and we talk about the day. And I have a little motto or mantra that I have each of my kids say, and they've been doing this for about 5 to 6 years. And my daughter's mantra is, I am beautiful, I am a leader, and I will do great things. And a few years ago, my daughter, in the middle of me telling her mantra, she stopped me and she said, Dad, stop. And I said, what, is something wrong? And she grabbed my face with her little hands and she said, Dad, you are beautiful and you are a leader and you are going to do great things. And I think, being a great dad, so many amazing things have been shared. I think just making sure that you remember, and all the men I know can attest to this, you don't become a great dad when you hold your kid for the first time or when you step into a father figure role. because there are a lot of great father figures who are unofficial real dads to a lot of kids. But I think you become a great dad and a father figure years earlier when you begin to lead yourself well and you begin to develop that character inside of you, that your word is bond, and that you're going to make sure that you got that foundation inside you, so you are as ready as you can be, even though we know it's a lifelong journey of fatherhood, but you're going to be as ready as you can be to help bring that new life into the world. And you're going to be there for that kid. And I just want to say, I love what Kevin had said about just being real about some of the struggles of life. So I think your kids know that as a family, we can struggle forward. And we're not putting up this facade that we got it all together. I'm perfect. I never make mistakes. But just being able to, if you mess up, in the eyes of your kids, you own it, and they're still going to love you. And you talk through the fact that we can grow through struggles together as a family.
Love it, man. Hey, George, can I just say something real quick, man?
Let me just pick up here real quick, and then go ahead, Doc. I just want to say, if you mess up, fess up. Because it was right there, I had to do that.
Yeah, we men got to work on that. Make sure we do that. But I just want to say too, and this is for the young guys that's listening, but dads, we sort of notice, like, there's different phases of your kid's life. You know, I always look at it in 3 phases. When they're little, you got the dependent phase, you know, where they're changing diapers and feeding them and all that kind of stuff. And that's one phase. And then you got the sort of the interdependent phase, where they're kind of young and need you, but they're starting to make that stretch out on their own. And then the final phase, what we all want to get our kids to, is the independence phase, where they're taking on life on their own. Like, my daughter travels all over the world now, and I don't worry about it. She's 19, because she can do that. But I want to say this: when the kids are little, they need our voice. When they get older, they need our ear. And I think that's important. That's important to understand, because I noticed my kids at the teenage years, like when they were little, they would ask me questions. I'm dad. I'm giving them answers and solutions. Then when they got older, it was like they would have the stare. Like, what do you? And I realized they wanted me to listen to them more than give them advice. So I just would say this: as dads, that's a gift too. When you as a dad can give a gift of an ear, you'll win your children for life, man, because they know you become that person that they can go to, that's not going to always try to tell them what to do, but to be there to support them as they're stretching through life as well. So just a nugget to consider. When they're younger, we tell them everything. When they get older, we listen.
And I think, Coach B, that's such an important thing to bring up, in that you don't ever come to a place in your fatherhood journey where you don't have fatherly influence in the life of your kids, even into adulthood. That I think as a father, you always have a role to play for the rest of your life in being that voice of empowerment and encouragement in your kids' lives.
Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, to Coach D's point, like I grew comfortable being, and I say this to myself a lot. I haven't said it to many people, but I say it to myself a lot. I've grown comfortable being the only imperfect person in a world full of perfect people. And I make sure that I present myself that way to my children, so they know, as Coach D said, like, when you mess up, I'm not perfect. Yeah. Like, I've been through stuff. So as you grow, as you get older, as you have issues, as you have struggles, you can come to me, because I've been through stuff too. You can come to me because I've messed up too. You can come to me. I promise you, I did it worse. I promise you, my ticket probably cost more. Like, whatever you've been through, I've been through it. So like you say, I can be that ear because I've been through it. And if I don't got I say this as an educator, and if I don't got the answers, we can find out who does together. But I'll listen to you first.
So there's a couple of things I want to try to put together, and there's two or three things I want to put together. So first one is, what kind of emotions did you first face while raising your child? And then together, how would you say you can fill the void if there's not a father figure or father in your life? So what kind of emotions did you face while raising your child? And then how would you say to someone how they can fill that void if they don't have a father or a father figure in their life? I'll start with you, Seneca, Dr. Phil, and then y'all pick it up.
So because I didn't have my father in my life, I still struggle with it. And, you know, every day I deal with it. And back to the previous question, you know, you asked about how do you know if you're a good father? Sometimes I don't. You know, I still try to I tell my son all the time, I do my best. And like you guys all said, I'm not perfect. And, you know, I'm always trying to make sure that because my father wasn't in my life, that I don't want, without any doubt, that my son and, well, my children know that I'm doing the best job that I can to provide and care for them. My older son, real quick, he is from a previous relationship. And so that relationship plays with me a lot because, you know, it's so difficult sometimes I guess it's easy to leave, right? And that's what my father did. But it takes a real man to, like, no matter where you at, to be, like you said, be present. And then one of my biggest things, do what you say you're going to do. You know, I tell my son, like, we just went to a tournament. He plays travel ball. One of the things I really want my son to know, that I want you with me. I understand you with your mom, but I always want you with me. And so those summers, those holidays, I want him there, but he's getting older now, right? And so he has friends. He's starting to like girls, you know, and then he's playing sports. So I know there's a balance there that comes with that. And so what I try to do is still try to learn, you know, from what my father wasn't there, making sure that I don't give that to my son. You know, like, just because my father wasn't there, you know, I don't want to put that pressure on him that he always have to be with me. And, you know, but I'm still trying to figure all of that stuff out as a man who all has the answers. So I'm going to stop right there for you guys. If anybody else want to pick up.
Well, and Dr. Phil, would you pick up this piece about filling that void when you don't have that father figure in your life and the emotions about raising a child?
Well, you know, I lost my father last summer. So now I'm starting to feel that void. I'm starting to feel it real big because he's always been there. And then I struggle because for two of my kids, I'm not there every day because I'm no longer with their mom. So, you know, that's that struggle there. That's that emotion. So if there's a problem at their school and I can't be there that same day, that's that emotion, like, oh, you know, and that feeling of, man, did I fail them? You know, and you're always questioning that, you know, hey, am I doing well? And sometimes they catch that attitude with you, but you're wondering, am I doing well? But, you know, at the end of the day, you fill a lot of that void by just, again, staying consistent and, you know, learning from others. Like I'm learning tonight. I'm learning from you guys tonight. So, you know, different podcasts like this definitely help. And, you know, whatever you lacked, I believe that you'll be able to learn and you'll be able to cover and you'll be able to apply that to how now you treat your children. So you fill that void by learning as much as you can about yourself, being as great as you can for yourself and for the people around you. But, you know, there's so many different people to learn from. Different people to talk to. If you have somebody that you can be accountable to, somebody that you can have as a mentor, everybody needs a mentor, whether you're starting a business, whether you're a father, you need somebody you can talk to, somebody you can be real with. And they'll let you know, hey, don't even worry about that. That's you're thinking too deep on it. Sometimes you have to hear that comforting word to know, okay, it's going to be all right.
So how difficult is fatherhood and how draining mentally is it?
Hey, George, can I go back to that last question real quick about the emotion real fast?
Yes.
Because I just think that's something important I had my first son. My wife and I were told it was medically impossible to have kids. And keep in mind, I used to work in the medical diagnostics field, so I knew all the physicians in my area. And I would take our numbers to them to see, and they say, yeah. So I just, you know, the emotions, when you want to be a dad, and you want to be a father, and and that's on your priority list, and you see it as important, it's overwhelming when you see your children come, man. It's just like you seeing this and you're like, man, I'm honored, I'm blessed to have this little life, to raise and to love and to care for, and so you go through a whole range of emotions. You go through this euphoria of you had them, but then the fear of how good am I going to be at this? You know what I mean? Like, am I going to be able to, am I going to be able to provide to them? What would happen? So you got these range of emotions, but for people who really want to be a father, man, it's overwhelming. It's like, I can't believe that I have this little life, this little version of me that's going to carry on to the next generation. Mm-hmm. And so I just wanted to, I just wanted to answer that one because it was sitting. I said, man, because, one, I want the young guys to understand it's a blessing to have these children, man. When you have them and you hold them in your arms, all of my children, there were threats of them possibly not being here. My son, my wife had what's called placenta abruptio, that she would have delivered him the day she delivered him, he would have died. And because he wasn't getting any nutrients. My daughter had some problems. We thought we were going to lose my third born because of some issues. So the reality is, man, it's just an overwhelming feeling of joy. There's some fear, but it's nothing like it, man. I can't, there's nothing like it.
I wanted to pick up on that piece. Doc, who said yeah? Somebody said yeah.
No, that was me. That was me. I just I thought about today. Today I was in the pool with my son, and I just held him. I just kind of held him tight. That's the emotions you go through. You go through that, boy, what's wrong with you? And then you go through that moment of, I can't let you go. So those are emotions all the time.
So you just talked about the mental fatigue around, you both talked about the joy. Coach D, you talked about the miracle of life in your situation, right? So what about the mental pressures of being a father? Who wants to take that?
I mean, I could jump out at that. I mean, it's the fear of the world, especially being a man of color. Got 2 daughters, 2 sons. And I mean, anything and everything, every fear you could possibly have, I have for my children, and understanding that, I could do what I can to be, Captain America and deflect everything. But in reality, I know I can't deflect it all. At some point they're going to grow up and grow out and be out there in the world, and I won't be there. And, I'm with Seneca in that I'm not the greatest guy in the world. I'm growing into this. I'm never really sure that all the things I'm doing are great. All the lessons I'm teaching are the right ones. I think they are. I pray on it. I work on it. I try to get mentorship and guidance. But I've seen great men raise great children, and seen tragedies happen, and I'm always fearful of that prospect. And so if you talk about the mental fatigue, much of my mental fatigue comes from just fear, like fear of things not working, fear of it not being okay, because I take it on my shoulders and on my heart that I want to make it okay. Like, I want to be there. I want to guide you. I want to nurture you, set you on a path. And I want it to be all okay, but I know, right, I can't guarantee that. So I give you my best. I work my hardest, but at the end, it's, up to, whomever's upstairs, to do the rest. And laying that down and being okay with that is a tough task. My oldest, my firstborn, is going to college right now. Got 4 at the Boston College, and so about to send my first out into the world, and I'm wrestling with that. And I don't know what that's going to feel like. Don't know what I'm going to be like in September when he's not here and he's in another zip code on his own, making his own decisions. But yeah, it's a struggle. That fear is real, because you love so hard, like Dr. Phil said, like Coach D said, you love so hard, and you love them so much, and you want it all to be okay. But in reality, you can't do it all. So you just hope.
Yeah, and I just
Right.
yeah, and I want to honor that even this conversation, you know, Coach D, you sharing, Calvin, you sharing, even the conversation that we're having is so rare, for real, right? I mean, I just want to honor that right now, that this is a lot of what fathers probably need to do more of in conversation with one another. So I wanted to honor that. One more thing I wanted to get to, because the kids want to know this. They want to know, why does the court most of the times favor the mom's side when it comes to child support and custody battles? They want to know that. So they want to know that. And then they have a couple of other things they want to know. And I wanted to make sure I honor some of the things that they want to know. Who wants to deal with that?
Wow.
It's definitely something I want to know too, but well, I can say that, you know, because I have a relationship where my older son, his mom and I, we worked out our arrangements outside of the court through a lawyer's agreement, which was a little bit better. But you know, like and I have it a little different too, because my wife, you know, she plays a role in this, and then also my son's mother, her husband plays a role in this, and you know, I mean, I guess because, you know, the mother, you know, always is there to care for the child, right? And we always see that a mother will nurture the child, but at the same time too, you can't dismiss the man, you know. And I would love to know that answer, but all I try to do is to make sure when we are talking about our son or our kids, you know, that we are doing the right thing for them, regardless of what side they go to. You know, it is about the child. And because, you know, you're going to have disagreements. You're going to have a lot of disagreements. And, you know, but whatever side they decide to go with, remember that you have a responsibility to that child. And it's your responsibility to provide the best life that you can for them.
A lot of the laws or unwritten rules of this were written many, many years ago. You know, you got to keep that in mind as well. There's a lot of stuff that's sort of antiquated in legal systems because they've been around for so long. The assumption is that mom is going to always be home taking care of the kids. But now you got so many mothers out there working, making money just like the dads, you know, not to compare generations, but I think dads today are probably, well, I don't want to say this because make it seem cruel, but we're a little bit more loving. You know, dads back in the old days were kind of.
Well, hold it. All right, so hold that thought right there.
Yeah.
What didn't you get as a child that's different from what you? In other words, what do your kids get that you didn't get?
Yes, I think I'm talking about it now. I think men are more comfortable with, like I said, telling their kids they love them, you know, hugging them, saying I got your back. You know, back then it was just manhood. You got to be a man, and you know, there was that whole man thing. You know what I mean? I'm gonna give you a punch in the chest. I mean, I ain't gonna give you a hug.
Right,
I'm a man. You know, but I think today that's different. But I'm thinking again. So from a law perspective, I think the assumption is mom is going to be there more for the kids. But in reality, some cases it's going to be dad that's going to be there more. So I think there need to take a look at that again, and reevaluate it. And you know, in some states are a little more intense than others. Like in Delaware, it's all about where I live. If you divorce, you're lucky if you get one right. I mean, literally, it's all favored for the woman. So I think, I think it just has to be reevaluated. You know, for the times that we're in.
Benjamin?
Yeah, just gonna say, you know, I had the blessing of a dad who is still in my life today, and he's always been active. Matter of fact, he just left my house a couple hours ago. We were spending some time together. My wife has a very different situation where mom was a drug addict, and they went through a custody battle, and she ended up going to live with her father. And what it came down to is the dad provided what the court thought was more stability for the child. Mm-hmm. And the mom chose to not show up to fight for her kid. Mm-hmm. So I think there are times when a child ends up going to a mother or the father because the court is looking for stability and care for that child. And there are times when the kid had asked that question about why does a kid always go with mom, maybe not with dad? There are some dads who don't step up when they could fight for their kids, and they don't show up to the court, to plead their case for being able to have shared custody. But I know that was a situation with my wife, which rocked her all the way until this day, and she's going through some of her counseling and working through some of that. It just came down to her mom just didn't show up, to fight for her when that was happening. And I do echo with what you were saying, Coach D. My dad is still an awkward hugger even to this day, and I think it's like I lean in for a hug, and he gives me this real weird pat on the back, and it's I think it's a generational thing that my dad was just not as comfortable expressing love and emotions as we are today as men. And I'm so inspired by hearing the men on this Zoom call.
Aren't you?
That you love your kids physically, like you're doing fist bumps and you're wrestling in the pool and you're giving kids hugs. But I think generationally there was a closed offness because the dad left. He was the provider. He went to work. He paid the bills, and maybe the mom was a little more emotionally in tune with the children. But I think that's one generational difference that I see is kind of that closed off, maybe based on what the father thought his role was in the home, than where we see that healthy role being today.
George, I just want to say something, if I can just 2 seconds. It's just a quick story too, but when we talk manhood and fatherhood, it goes beyond our home. You all know that, like that other kids see us too, man. Like I know sometimes, like my daughter has friends and they would see how affectionate I'm at with my daughter, and you can tell they weren't getting that same affection, so I will hug them too, and it's just like, it really extends. But I gotta tell you a quick little funny story. We were in Nairobi, Kenya. We support an orphanage there. And so I mentioned my daughter helps out. And so my younger daughter was there with me, my little 10-year-old. She was 8 at the time. I always have this thing where she dances with me. She steps on my feet and we dance. So I'm dancing with her. And there was probably about 25 of the kids that were at the orphanage saw us doing that. And they were staring at it, And then one of the young kids walked up and just stood and looked up at me. And I said, Abby, I think I got another person I need to dance with. So the kid came on my feet and I'm dancing with this one kid. Next, I got a line of kids, little girls and boys. The little boys wanted to do it too. So manhood, man, really touches the heart of kids.
Yes.
Not just our own. You see them saying, yeah, okay, Abby dancing to my daughter. Okay. And but it also touches the lives of other kids. Yeah.
All right, we have about 5 minutes to your close, but I know Dr. Phil, get in there.
Listen, I want to jump on 100% with Ben and Coach. Up until my dad's death, we had awkward hugs. Okay, I just had to throw that in there. It's just, and one of the reasons, he's one of 10 kids. Mm-hmm. So think about our fathers back in the day. How many siblings did they have, and how many uncles and aunts you had? There wasn't a lot of hugs and loving to go around, in some of the families. So, but here's what I want to say for those men. Unfortunately, if you're getting into a divorce, try to work out your joint custody as amicably as possible without the court. If you can do that without lawyers and without court, and you can agree on your child support, agree on the visitations and the times, the weekends you're going to spend, if you can do that in advance without a lot of the drama, you'll save yourself a lot of the court's intervention. And if you can agree on that before you get to that stage, it'll be a better transition in that.
Well, here's before each of you are going to have an opportunity to give some closing thoughts, but here's what I wanted. This is a really important question from our young people. They want to know, what are some of the ways to help raise bright children, and what are some of the ways to help build a strong relationship with the family? Coach D, I mean, you talked about teamwork, so run with that, and then we'll start with our closing thoughts from each one of you.
I'll say this just real quick, and I'll make it simple because I want to hear from all the other brothers too, but just be intentional. Read with your children. You know what I mean? We're always reading books, share stories with your kids. And then as far as just being bright, you got to connect. This is the thing we talk about. And Joe's familiar with this, called connecting dreams to education. You know, talking to your kids about education is not just about math, science, and reading and getting good grades. It's taking you somewhere. There's an outcome at the end of this. And so, which is going to lead to employment or careers and things like that. But I think a lot of times parents don't talk to their kids about that. You know what I mean? They just go to school, you got an A, well, that's great. Well, that A may lead you to becoming a doctor, or maybe lead you to becoming a lawyer, things like that. So we need to be intentional in having those conversations, intentional in reading, which is a big thing. And then intentional in just general education, learning from. My son and I like looking at the History Channel. He's a history buff. That's where he wants to go to school. And we're always looking at different shows and debriefing and talking. And what do you think about that? What do you think about that? So that's just my 2 cents. I think you just got to be intentional in making education and learning from education a priority in your conversations.
Yeah. Let me add to that. Every opportunity is education. Every opportunity is education. So whether it's museums, whether it's going to the ball game, my dad took me to Shea Stadium, see Doc Gooden. That's where I learned my fear of heights, because he always took me to the nosebleeds. Every opportunity, and I can go to my dad for, politics, for sports, for religion. And we were able to have that conversation, always have those conversations, continue to make every and it doesn't matter how much you know or don't know, whatever you know, you educate your child with, because guess what? You know more than you think, and you have more in your arsenal than you think. So continue to make every opportunity education, every opportunity to give instruction, to pour into them, and whatever their passion is, whatever your child's passion is, pour into that. I have 1 artist, I have 2 singers, pour into those passions. I've sent them to, my wife sends our daughter to piano lessons, vocal lessons. I have another daughter in vocal lessons. We've done art classes, we've done fashion. Pour into those things that they love. Even if they end up abandoning it later, pour into that for that moment, because whatever they learn, they'll still grow from.
I want to add really quick. I'm gonna repeat: read with your kids, and how important that is, because you see the difference in how smart they will be. But the other thing is, do things that you're uncomfortable doing. A lot of times we put ourselves in these positions and we want to do what we're used to. Give your kid a different environment, things that you are new to. If you're going camping, right? If you're going hiking, do things that is going to expose your kid to something different, to give them that well-rounded person, and not just the narrow lens that your life has been. Not narrow lens, but just what you've been used to.
I think that's huge, Seneca, in just the idea of your loudest message usually doesn't come from what you say, it will come from what you model.
That's right.
And so if you want your kids to be bright, if you want them to be learners, if you want them to be readers, just recognizing that you have to model what it is that you want your kids to end up becoming, and they're going to watch you and remember what they see way more, I think, than what you say.
Yeah, I mean, I would just add to that. I mean, similar to what everyone was saying. I mean, assume competence, and expose your children to things that you may think is above them, but hey, expose them to it anyway. Like my wife and I are both educators. I got 5 degrees. My wife has 3. We expose our children to high level stuff. I mean, I was my oldest. I mean, I was talking to him about transubstantiation when he was like 6, and it works. You might not think it sinks in, but it sinks in, and sometimes it comes out years later. You'll wonder where it came from because you put it in there years before, right? Sow the seeds in the mind, and you'll bear fruit later. But the other big thing is, and this has kind of been a theme of a lot of what I've been saying, is, it's okay to fail. Teach them that it's okay to fail. And if you teach them that it's okay to fail, they will dare to dream greatly. If you teach them that they have to be perfect, they will travel safely in the weeds.
Mm.
So if you teach them that it's okay to fail, they'll fly.
All right. You each have about 30 seconds to give us some final thoughts. Kevin, and if you want to add to what you just said, you can go first.
For me, life is simple, man. It's just love and trial, right? You just show up, work hard, love. And really that's, at least for me, what fatherhood boils down to. You know, I'm not great by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm here, I love, I try, I apologize. And I figure as long as I continue to do those things, ultimately it will all work out for the good.
Let me ask you quick up there. How hard is it to say I apologize?
Well, easy. You know, I mean, it's easy for me because I don't take myself too seriously. You know, I know who I am and what I am, and I want to show my children. I always give this analogy that, you know, when I'm teaching, I'm here to show you potholes. You know, as we're traveling down a road, I've already fallen in those potholes. I'm here to show you where they are. I'm not here to show you, I'm here to show you the direction, but I'm also here to show you the potholes. And so that's part of my story. That's part of who I am. My problems, my issues, the things I've been through are part of who I am. And I want to show you what that is so you don't go through the same thing. And as long as I'm honest about that to you, my hope is that you don't have to endure what I endured.
Benjamin, quickly.
Yeah, a couple of things I would share real quick. You know, for anybody who is an aspiring father someday, everybody on this call, we are works in progress, and we are learning, you know, day in and day out. I would just say, and I hope you take this to heart, that if you're an aspiring father, believe in your worth and value that you have right now, because when it comes to being a father, if you want to really recognize the worth and value in your kids, you got to believe in the worth and value that you already have. And so believe that you are valuable every day. If that means writing out a declaration statement that I am a man of value and I am a future father of value and I have worth that is already planted inside of me. But I think recognize and own your value. And even if you mess up, like Kevin was saying, even if you mess up, it does not deplete or diminish your worth and value. That your worth and value is already in there. And if you had a great father, continue that legacy and go next level. And if you had a father that never showed up, make the decision today that you are going to be a chain breaker and you are not going to carry and repeat the patterns of what your father didn't give you, but you are going to write a new story and you're going to write a new chapter in your life. And so just believe in your worth and value, and whatever was great, carry that forward. And whatever was not great, make the decision today that you're going to break that chain and you are going to write a new story, a new narrative, and a new chapter in your life.
Seneca.
Yes. So I want to leave this behind. There's so many young men out here, and I want to go back to Todrick real quick. Todrick said that he places so many men in his life to want to be like, and there's so great men on this panel. And I'm just going to put myself out there, and I'm sure they're going to be the same way. Reach out to us if you need someone to talk to. DM me, I don't care. I have been working with students for over 16 years in student affairs. And so I know I have seen, not only myself, but I've seen so many people at college universities that just need guidance, that needs someone to talk to. And put yourself around people that are going to invest in you. And so I'm here to do that. If you want to reach out to me, and I'm sure all the other gentlemen on here as well, all the fathers on here would say the same thing.
Dr. Phil, too.
I had to tell my daughter she was right about something and I was wrong. I don't think I'll ever live it down. Just want to say that. But everyone needs a new start. Everyone needs a new start. So don't be afraid to start over. And remember, as they are growing, you are growing too. This will be the first time you're raising a 10-year-old. This will be the first time you're raising a 15-year-old. They're growing, you're growing as well. Give yourself time and space to grow and teach wisdom. You're going to learn how to handle conflict. You're going to learn the way you used to handle it, or the way your father used to handle it may not be the way that you need to handle it today. So learn how to start again. And it's okay to start over as many times as you need to start over. That's what I do. I help people shape their new start. So again, you need some counsel. You have my Instagram right there. But you know, it's okay. Shape your new start, continue again, learn as much as you can, but you'll always be learning. Every day you'll be learning. And remember, they grow into different phases, just as you grow into different phases. So it's all about learning how to adjust to the phase, but still being consistently a strong and wonderful father that you are. And you can do this. You've got this.
Coach D.
Yes, sir. Just two quick things, George. One is a quote that I share with young people, and I've shared with a lot of them. I mean, tens of thousands of them through speeches and things. And it's something I want the young fellas just to embrace. And that's simply, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. You know, who you hang around is who you're going to become. And so you need to have some men, some brothers, some friends in your life that think the way you think, that can encourage you to do what's right when it comes to your future. So that's a gift I'm giving you, man. Show me your friends. I will show you your future. And so surround yourself with people that can help you be that father and that man. And the second thing is just what I said earlier in my presentation. Provide, protect, and nurture. If you do those three things, you're going to be a man. But let me tell you about that provision part. It starts now in school. Telling folks, listen, I'm not here playing. I'm here because I'm on a mission. So all them folks that's goofing off, they want you to goof off with them. They're not going to pay your mortgage. They're not going to pay your car note. They're not going to pay put food on your kids' table, okay? Right. You are. You think about your future. You lock in, do what you need to do. One thing I didn't mention is I'm a first-generation college graduate. I'm so glad that I made that choice because it changed the trajectory of my life. But I had friends around me that encouraged me in that process. So think about that. Provide, protect, and nurture. Show me your friends. I will show you your future.
Yep. Well, we have certainly been nurtured, we've been loved, and we've been provided for. We thank you to this tremendous panel on fatherhood, Kevin Robinson, Benjamin Lundquist, Seneca Wilson, Dr. Phil Wesley II, and of course, our keynote speaker, Coach D. Darrell Andrews. We want to thank our sponsors, the Syracuse City School District, My Brother's Keeper, and of course, the Building Man Program for their support. This program was produced by George Kilpatrick Media and Marketing and ElectroQ and IntelliQ Productions. I remind you that what our panelists said, that the resources are available in this community for all of us as dads and as youth in this community to succeed. I leave you with this thought. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am.